map, he may not shy away from that, but nothing too out of the ordinary. I think maybe Mass Adepts or Queen Walks, but nothing crazy otherwise.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see what he has in store. Spawning down on the bottom right for the Shopify Rebellion, it is Lambo.
And in the top left-hand side, it is for Psystorm Gaming, MaxPax.
It is such a treat to watch this kid continue to develop. He has been such a cool innovator, and I'm really excited. I know that when Parting was still playing, him and MaxPax would oftentimes, discuss strategy. It was really cool, and he's been a player that's been on our radar for a while, but it's been cool to continue to see him develop and improve.
Yeah, for sure. He comes up with his own strategies, but I like to think of him as a slow builder. He's not a too chaotic of a player, so the way I think of MaxPax is he mostly thinks about the game on his own, right? Like probably gets his basics from just his opponents and like other perhaps top tier players, but then he kind of thinks it on his own. He tinkers the build orders and his understandings, and he comes up with his own strategies, but they're not on the fly. He's not the chaotic type that's gonna just throw in any random wrench at his opponent and try to make the game kind of just like a very active thinking ground. He is very methodical. He wants to have a plan, so once he has his own understanding, he just kind of develops from there. And that's where I think we find a weaker MaxPax than normal, because we are kind of in a newer patch still, and a lot of his strategy that he put a lot of work into developing has been thrown out the window.
Fair enough. I can see that a little bit. I think of him as one of those players who is, willing to commit to that new stuff. As we've got something a little bit interesting here. It's going to be Warp Gate first. Do you think cancels that for Stargate, or do you think it's going to be some kind of quick Twilight Council? Well, there it is. Never mind. Yeah, I looked at the gas count and I was like, oh, it's at 100 right now. He has to make that decision this moment. And it's going to be most likely Glaive Adepts, probably, yeah.
I think so. I think he's gonna Mass Adepts because of the map. Like, I think, and again, like that is kind of what I was getting at, right? Like, it's not like he won't have his own flavor of like potentially like Mass Adepts or like very heavy Adept, but it is not unpredictable that MaxPax will go for something like this. In that sense, I feel like he's not very chaotic. It's just kind of like his play style. He plays different, but he plays different every game. Like, in his own way. Does that make sense? Like,
he plays
not different from
himself.
To
others, but
exactly
the same. Yeah. No, I can actually really definitely agree with that one. He is very much a bit of an iterative player, I suppose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a good mix. Creativity at some point, and then iterates on that over and over.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that. It's cool to see that. For one, I'm just happy that PvZ is in a completely different state than it's been in, for a long time. As we see Roachhorn coming on down, very common to get it at around 3:30 when you see the Warp Gate first, and it's not canceled. Of course, it's going to be kind of a must-have against the Resonating Glaives build.
Yeah, absolutely. You want probably going for the DRG response. Lambo is, by the looks of it, he's just going to be making a swell of links to answer the first shades of the Adept, right? Like the Adept's trying to potentially shade onto his ramp, then canceling that shade and then going for the roaches. Lambo also a methodical player who builds. They're similar in approach in that sense, right? Like Lambo also has his own strategies, also comes up with his own builds from time to time, but once he thinks he has the right approach, or he just kind of tends to build on that. So
speaking of which, we are going to be seeing a very quick transition out of MaxPax. So you got that quick third gas, and we'll start up a robotics bay behind us. So this is going to be Resonating Glaives into very quick disruptors, and I like that. I think it's a cool way of playing.
Very cool. And here we have the first shade that should be canceled by the links like I was talking about, and then the roaches should answer the follow-up, which MaxPax would normally be going to, but now he has this sort of transition into the disruptors, which is really interesting and cool to see, because disruptors are excellent against roaches, especially if the roaches are like lair tech or normal hatchery tech roaches and not lair, because if there's no roach speed, it's very difficult to dodge those disruptor shots. On offense, it's going to be nearly impossible for Lambo to make anything happen. But even on defense, those disruptors are going to be super annoying. So really cool approach from MaxPax, because you need the roaches for the, they're forced to be made for the adepts.
And even to that point, it's Lambo has to respond to this, without droning too heavily. So it means that it's a low eco setup for Lambo.
Yeah.
And that means even, 5 units getting hit by a disruptor shot is kind of devastating for the Zerg.
Absolutely. Could be crazy bad for him. So yeah, I really like the approach from MaxPax so far. I would go as far as to say this game is looking good for him, even though he didn't find any damage with the adepts.
Yeah, it's baked into his game plan to have some good stuff done. He does actually let 2 of the shades finish on the adepts and gets into the natural kills a couple of drones, but actually, 3 adepts, it looks like. A couple of drones do go down, but overall, good defense from Lambo. Pulls the drones quickly, doesn't lose too much. But this is that scary moment where if you want to go for a counterattack, it is going to be very, very committed against these disruptors.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult to make work with primarily Ling Roach, right? And Lambo is actually making a lot of units right now. I don't think that he knows or he thinks that he needs them defensively. So I think his plan was to counterattack. Somewhat luckily for him, MaxPax will reveal the disruptors here on offense, because if not, I think that Lambo has made enough units that he would have moved out. Now with disruptors shown, I don't think he should be looking to move out. MaxPax, however, is going to be forced to use those shades and do as much damage as he can before dying. 2 shades in the 3rd base are going to actually get more than a few workers, so that is doing the brunt of the damage here. 6 already, make it 7. Lambo not paying attention there, and fair enough. I mean, there was like 20 adepts in his main.
Yeah, this is already a lot of damage right here, and Lambo is droning up behind us, but it's not done. These 2 adepts are getting so much work done. They have 17 kills between the 2 of them. Make it 18, make it 19, and make it stop. That is a ton of damage at this stage in the game for that.
Yeah, and that is so sad. It's so difficult sometimes to notice, right? When 1 or 2 units are doing damage, when there's so much more going on. And yeah, these low roaches are actually going to get clipped pretty hard by the first disruptor shots. Lambo now considering going on offense, but he doesn't have roach speed yet. So it is a very tough position. Again, against disruptors, you don't want to move out with these low roaches. And even now, I mean, he will be able to move out, but does he want to? There's going to be Colossus on the other side. MaxPax has had his 3rd for a while. It doesn't look too great for the German king.
No, it certainly does not. We already seen another disruptor shot coming on in to the natural. I really love the way he's doing this. Okay, so this is a really unique approach to the disruptor drop setup. So he's dropping 2 disruptors, like one after the other, instead of queuing them up. And he's sending the first one to a specific target, usually the queens, and he's forcing Lambo to respond to that and split them. And then he sends the other one in a completely different direction. So Lambo can't split in 2 places at once. That's a really cool approach, and I like the way he's microing that.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to divide and conquer there with his disruptors. Let's see. MaxPax, again, not sure that he needs to be aggressive right now. I think he's done enough economic damage that he should just be happy with his position, and he is taking a 4th behind this. So, as long as he doesn't overcommit, I think that he is in a wonderful position. But he could offer the game back to Lambo on creep here, whereas otherwise he could just continue to get further ahead, and Lambo doesn't really have an opportunity to move across the map against this sort of army.
Yeah, especially now that he's pushed the creep back, I don't think he should be going for it anymore. Here comes Lambo trying to come in from multiple angles. The force fields are going to discourage him, but that should be enough for MaxPax to say, okay, I need to at least wait for the creep to dissipate before I go back in. And he's not going to.
Yeah, I mean, this could go either way. Nice force fields, actually. Lambo not really paying attention to those force fields by the looks of it. He could have biled them a little bit sooner, so loses a few more units in the left-hand side. This is not to say, by the way, I'm not saying that Lambo is going to hold. I'm saying that if he does, he's back in the game, and he shouldn't have an opportunity back. And now going after the Colossus, that was a pretty decent move from Lambo. Good biles as well, connect onto some of those stalkers, and yeah, I mean, he's gonna hold. Still MaxPax with 74 workers to the 67 of Lambo, so he is in the economical position to kind of like run away with it. But yeah, Lambo's still in it.
Yeah, and a lot of that was MaxPax, I think, getting a little bit over-eager right there. He didn't really need to rush it. His War Prism was a little bit too far forward. It got Corrosive Bile down, which meant he couldn't hot pick up the Colossus. And it had War Prism speed, so that was a really high-value unit right there to lose. Lambo still really on the back foot, but MaxPax has given him an opportunity, and now we're going to see a Baneling run by trying to come on in. That could get a lot of damage done potentially.
Yeah, and he's going to go for the third. I don't even know if he's aware of the fourth, but great reaction time here from MaxPax. Good blink as well. Is going to protect all of his probes, so not going to lose anything there. 2 drones go down on the side of Lambo. I still like that Lambo is trying for this. Right now, he is looking for a little bit of a flank, because if MaxPax continues to kind of like overstay here, then Lambo can come up from multiple angles and then just surround this army, force the blink, and then you can get a clear and maybe get back into the game in a big way. This is still a scary Sarg army.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well, there's no charge for MaxPax, so he's not going to have the potential of, big Zealot run-bys or a big Zealot warp into the main. We are going to see the attempt at that wraparound coming. Lambo doesn't want to show this army on the left side, but MaxPax is going to find it regardless. Blinks forward, picks off a Roach. Very nice. Oh, the Disruptor shot! Oh, getting a huge connection right there.
Huge. That's absolutely massive. On the other side, 2 Adepts have evacuated the entire mineral line at the natural and killed an additional 5 workers. 2 more Adepts at the 4th base. That's got to be really annoying. And I keep turning around to look at Lambo's face in these moments, but it's not really happening. Like, the camera is just not there.
Those are the classic moments when you expect something to be there. Ooh, losing a Baneling to rocks is...
2, actually. Yeah, no bueno.
Ugh, it's not what you want at all. And Lambo's never had an opportunity to get rolling here. His creep has been pushed back consistently. He's now on only 58 drones to 79 workers. MaxPax is just continuing to outtrade Lambo.
Yeah, and if we look at this, I mean, this is a flustered Lambo. This is why I want to look at the webcam, because I mean, that was the 2 Adepts in the natural already probably flustered him. Then the next 2 Adepts already in a game that he's already in a bad position, and then he runs 2 Banelings into the rocks, right? And then he runs 3 Overlords into the army of MaxPax. Like, this is all signs to me that Lambo is not with his head in this game. And now engaging off of creep, this is never gonna work, I think. So yeah, MaxPax should be able to close out the game here. Lambo with a good effort, but I think he has kind of mentally given up in this game. And yeah, there is the full give up. So he was just, kind of going through the motions, I think, towards the last minute or 2.
Yeah, great force fields for MaxPax there towards the end to, make sure that almost, I guess, Hail Mary engagement attempt had really no chance of finding what it needed to. MaxPax, he put the pressure on in the beginning and never took his foot off the gas. And that did, put him in a couple of kind of uncomfortable situations, but it is also the reason I think that he won that game and made it look so convincing, is that he really never gave Lambo an opportunity to get comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I think Lambo is going to have a loss on the grounds that he probably hates it the most, which is a little bit of a misread, because again, he is a very methodical player, a player that thinks, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what my response is. And he probably thought this is mass adepts or something of the sort. So let me just mass up units. I'm going to hold, I'm going to cross the map, I'm going to kill your third, something to that extent, right? But instead, MaxPax went for disruptors, never committed his adepts, never really sacrificed them for workers until much later. Until after the disruptors had already come out, they kept them safe, and he continued to do damage with them on the other side of the map. So really cool approach from MaxPax, and I imagine that we're gonna see much more of that on small maps, but maybe not on this one. It's gonna be 2000 atmospheres, a completely different map, requires a different approach from the young Dane.
Yeah, it certainly does. As we get into game number 2 here, MaxPax looking pretty good. Spawning up at the top right for Psystorm Gaming, it is Maximus Paximus.
And in the bottom left-hand side, you said it. I mean, this guy does not like to lose to MaxPax too much. The good luck have fun is delayed or missing. And it is in the bottom left-hand side for the Shopify Rebellion, the King, Lambo.
Yeah, and I want to speak a little bit more to the build order choice being really nice on that map. And contributing to the misread. You can't scout your opponent's natural gases easily on Berlingrad. It's very difficult to do so, and that's kind of the tell that, it's a relatively quick tech transition out of the 4-gate glaives. And MaxPax, he knows that. He knows that Lambo is a methodical player, and he probably predicted that response and got him a good situation, and he was able to really push that nice, I guess, strategic situation, push it from there.
Yeah. Also, not to forget that even though Lambo was in a pretty difficult position, or that maybe the plan for MaxPax went well, Lambo did hold the initial bunch of adepts, right? Like he had the right response for the first few bunch, and the disruptors didn't even find that much. It was those two adepts that killed 18 workers at the third that really put the nail in the coffin for Lambo, right? Otherwise, I think that the game was kind of playable, maybe not ideal in terms of unit composition for Lambo. But yeah, I mean, and from that position, MaxPax even moving out and making kind of moves that he didn't need, risks that he didn't need to take, right? It's often the Zerg that's going to be looking to break the Protoss at those points in time, like come the mid game. But it was MaxPax with just all the control throughout that entire game after those two adepts just demolished the economy of Lambo the King.
Yeah, it was a tough situation, no doubt. Now, I wonder, okay, look at this Zergling counter right here. We got 8 Zerglings already starting up, only 19 drones on the field. This is going to be a Ling all-in. Do you think he pulls
so?
drones?
I don't think it's a Ling all-in, is it? Because it's so far away from Ling speed. I think is he just looking to catch the first couple of adepts? I'm not sure. You think it's definitely... Oh, wow, you're right. Okay, tell me about this then.
Okay, so this is a situation where you do hope to catch the adepts. You're counting on the adept not taking any detours, going straight across the map. You sneak the drones around the map, and then you drone drill through the natural expansion.
Okay.
And you surround that adept. If MaxPax sends out this second adept, he could just be straight up dead. But we are going to see him rallying it back. He will pull very quickly. The problem is he's not going to get a third unit out. He'll probably need to recall that other adept. Nice double wall. Very smart decision right there for MaxPax. But he's going to need to pull the probes. Already getting a decent little fight right here. Lambo, this is very tough for him, actually, I think.
Yeah, it looks really bad. Again, looking at the camera, but it's not where to be found. And yeah, this is, I mean, double pylon even to wall off, so it's going to buy MaxPax plenty of time. And 25 workers for the young Dane, only 15 for Lambo. This is looking like a 2-0 a little bit, yeah?
No third base on the way for Lambo. Yeah, this is not a 3-base Ling flood all-in where you can drone up easily. This is a heavy commitment. And as long as that stalker rallies out to the back, does it? Oh no, it rallied out on the wrong side. He needs to cancel that pylon and let it out. No, that is really bad.
I completely agree with you. He should... Oh, with the shield battery maybe overcharge? It should be in range, that one, yeah. So he will overcharge, and with that, actually, the stalker will survive. I still think I would have liked the cancel of the pylon, but maybe if he knew that it was definitely gonna survive here, it's completely fine. So additional gateway now, as MaxPax doesn't really have any way to produce units, and that is his main issue here. I would love to see maybe a Dark Shrine or something like that if he could afford it, which mineral-wise he cannot. But he's just gonna rely on this adept right now to try and kill all of the Lings ever. Will it be able to?
It's going to take a very, very long time. So he did recall, and I think the adept must have died on the map.
Not because healing the batteries.
Oh, he needs to heal that. Yeah.
What?
Oh no,
what?
He's breached. Oh, okay, yeah. He gets the clutch rewall at the very last second, and a nice shade back as well. He's doing a really good job of buying time, and once this second gateway completes, he will be able to warp in another adept. And that is, of course, going to double his firepower, but it is not over yet. It is 26 army supply to 2. Lambo, it still is... Actually, he is going to break through on this top side.
There's no more units.
Oh, the battery overcharged!
Yeah, but is it going to be enough? He's going to have to juggle between those two batteries. Not going to be able to heal the one that is falling, as well as the gateway on the left-hand side. And now with that, I mean, Lambo has enough. Somehow, some way, he has made it happen. I mean, this is actually bananas. After taking down the gateway, I don't know if MaxPax could have remade any unit producing structures, but not to be the case. Dark Shrine could have been a possibility, I think, as he already had the Twilight Council and it never really did anything. But I don't even know if one Dark Templar, which is all he could have ever afforded to make, would have been enough to help him here. And somehow Lambo is gonna push on through. Crazy.
Yeah. And we gotta mention, if it was Stargate instead of Twilight Council, that game is over almost 100% in favor of MaxPax. I don't imagine a world where a single Oracle doesn't completely change that game. So Lambo getting a little bit fortunate with the build order choice. And then the fact that the Stalker wasn't saved. The fact that, like, MaxPax actually blocked the Stalker from rallying out to the correct side. If that Stalker, I think, shows up on the other side of the wall, I think it's a hold for MaxPax. But either way, Lambo gets a couple of fortunate, a couple of fortunate drops, or like the dice fall fortunately for him, and now he's back in the series.
He is back, and that game feels pretty good. He is good luckifying, by the way, in the lobby. I should say that as well, because he didn't answer in the game, but there is good luck in the lobby, so he probably feels that's already done. In any case, that was a pretty interesting game. Not a strategy that I have seen too much of, but it worked out for Lambo. He went in, as you would imagine, like that was the best case scenario for the initial workers and the links, just getting straight up in, the adept not really walling off. But MaxPax, with a really good defense at the ramp, with probes being pulled, he is able to actually take down the first few links. And then I thought, okay, well, that went just a little bit too good for MaxPax, right? So yeah, in your opinion, what happened? What went so wrong after? Other than was it just the Stalker?
Well, if he could have saved that other adept, I didn't actually watch it. I didn't see what happened. But if he could have recalled that first adept, and even the Stalker, the mistake with the Stalker, it would have been fine. If you have two adepts shelling away that whole time with the way that MaxPax was effectively rewalling, I think that is probably an easy hold. So chances are the recall wasn't quite early enough to save it. And that's the kind of thing that can slow-ball a game. As we have spawning down in the bottom left for Storm Gaming, it's MaxPax.
And equalizing the series at the top right-hand side of the map, it is for the Shopify Rebellion, Lambo King. Like another question for me is, should that have even been a Stalker and not another Adept, right? Like, Stalker obviously much better against Baneling busts, but I don't know if that's something that you can anticipate versus the strategy that you called from the beginning. So clearly, like, it may, if it's in your mind and it's against Lambo, an opponent that he knows, I imagine MaxPax would have had a good idea that this was a possibility, more so than something really weird like Baneling bust.
Well, once you see those drones, you know that it can't possibly be a Baneling bust. The only thing that I wonder is if maybe he queued up that Stalker. No, he didn't. Yeah, no, yeah. So the reason that he went for it is he did have it queued up, and the gateway got depowered. So the Stalker was already about halfway done. So I guess he didn't want to lose progress.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
But it would have been the correct decision.
No, that doesn't make sense, because the Adept popped as the links were arriving. So like he could have, there's no way that the Stalker could have been halfway through before he could have made the decision to make an Adept instead.
Oh, no, he certainly could have changed his mind and should have. But I think he was prioritizing other things and it didn't occur to him. And that's what caused it. But you are correct. If he'd realized right away and started up an Adept, I think it was one of those things where, you have to do so many things at once. You're like, oh, I got to pull probes. I got to double repile on wall, which, by the way, was a really great decision. And despite everything, going kind of poorly for him with those first two gateway units, did almost allow him back into it.
Yeah, there were some points where the shield batteries also weren't healing other shield batteries, or at least one of them towards the end there. Not sure that it would have made a difference, just because the damage output of so many Zerglings versus a single Adept up until the very end was just not, it just didn't look close. Like, I don't know if he should have remade his gateways elsewhere maybe or something.
What I'm starting to wonder about now, as we see for the third game in a row, a Twilight Council coming down, I wonder if, as it was coming in, if he would have had time to throw down like a Stargate and get out an Oracle. I know that his mineral count was extremely strained, but if he could have done that, like one Oracle, out by the 5-minute mark, even, I would say, would have probably won in that game.
Yeah, that seems a little difficult as compared to like just a gateway or something, because you would need it as a wall off, you would imagine, right? The Stargate. But I mean, maybe, I don't know, like maybe if he had the gas for it, because it's how much is the Stargate in terms of minerals?
150 minerals, 150 gas, and then another
so
150 minerals, 150 gas for the Oracle itself. So it's a big investment. Like, this is all theoretical, obviously, and we can't know unless it's we actually get the heads up. Oh, nice job from MaxPax right there, realizing that there was a few too many lings on the map. Does get the recall out. So good job there. and it will be okay. So this is a new style that MaxPax likes to play, or a relatively new style. This is 3-gate glaives with no robo.
The Patty Mac.
Yes, I was just going to say, he is likely to go into double Stargate Phoenix behind this. Exactly, the Patty Mac. Patty Mac loves to do this.
Yeah, and he's the first player that I saw do it as well, but it has had a lot of success as far as, like, I've played against Patty Mac doing this, and it is just so difficult. He usually likes to transition into Dark Templars as well. And once those Phoenix are out, I mean, yeah, he just, Brood War style kills Overseers, and then it's very difficult to do anything offensively as well. So it is a very, very cool style, and it's cool to see some of the Europeans adopting it as well, because they've given it some nods of respect, right? Even Lambo, I think, has called it the Patty Mac at some point, because yeah, he really was, I think, the first player to do it.
Yeah, and this is a strange... Well, I think Lambo has a little bit of a misread right here, because he's building a lot of roaches. Unless he has intentions of getting aggressive, I don't think you want to commit to this. Well, how many? What is it? 8 roaches? Yeah, no, he doesn't realize that this is the robo-less style of this.
Yeah, and he is still making roaches, but now starting to drone up again. And I agree with you. I think he has to get aggressive, but he needs to scout the third coming up. If there is a third on the way for MaxPax, then I think it is where Lambo is going to have to move across the map. But it doesn't look like for the time being MaxPax is. Or look at the third, the triangle. Okay, like, so there was an intention of a third there from the probe, and the Ling is attentive from Lambo.
Yeah, and I think we are going to be seeing eventually a third base coming down regardless. Lambo right now, I don't think knows exactly what's going on. He is... we're going to see the split off right here. And this is already a little bit scary. Adepts in every base right now. And MaxPax is just looking to trade these out. He's already getting quite a few workers here.
Yeah, and actually Lambo not really handling as well as he could on 2 bases. He's kind of not crumbling a little bit, right? Like, the natural Adept are not tended to for a very long time. The main ones are kind of like clicked on, but then forgotten or like split away from with the army of Lambo. So it is a very slow clear here, and that is, resources mined lost, mining time lost, as well as 14 workers going down, and that is before the Phoenix even show up to do further economic damage. So this is going to be extremely frustrating for Lambo. Again, I wish there was even just Lambo's camera available here.
Yeah, so if he hadn't started to drone up, there could have been a situation where he just commits to units, and a counterattack is rather scary, because the Phoenixes, they can't lift Zerglings very quickly. Now, the Resonating Glaive Adepts, they're going to clear Zerglings very effectively, but now that he has droned up and he sees this, this is the kind of situation where you're like, now I got to deal with Phoenixes for a while. This is going to be pretty tough. His queen positioning looking very, very nice, but he loses 5 drones. We're going to see this big counterattack on the left side. It did actually sneak out here, so maybe this could get a lot of damage done, actually.
Yeah, you're completely right. It definitely snuck out, and that is very important. So there's going to be a recall onto the Phoenix. Those are really good at killing the Ravagers, but the rest of the units are mostly unaccounted for. Lambo quick to actually focus fire that the shield battery, and so with some vials he's going to attempt at going after 1 Phoenix, but the Phoenix do prioritize the Ravagers. They are all taken down. Now the Roaches, 2 Adepts still being a nuisance here, going to kill another 4 or 3 workers, and yeah, not completing that shade is actually kind of nice for Lambo. But on the other side, without reinforcements and with the Phoenix energy that we have available, MaxPax should be able to clear this and save the Nexus.
Yeah, the fact that the pylon was prioritized as well as being picked off means that he can't warp in there, and that was a little bit more of a nuisance. Lambo behind this did drone up very heavily. MaxPax lost a pretty significant number of probes, so that was actually a very effective counterattack. Part of what makes this style, very strong is that the Phoenixes have to see a lot. They have to see basically everything, and missing that counterattack was really devastating for MaxPax. There was also a nice little start to that engagement where 4 Adepts got surrounded by the Lings, and the Corrosive Biles immediately cleared those out and made it so that it was just a much, much stronger start to that for Lambo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was pretty good for Lambo. It was good equalizing damage that he definitely needed to do, and he is at 69 workers versus 59. So this is still a playable game, at least on paper. But this is still a lot of Phoenixes unanswered with a lot of energy, and Lambo. Okay, at least the queens are going to be able to save this queen. So that's some decent trades.
Yeah, it is worth noting, by the way, that MaxPax has not lost a single Phoenix yet, so good control from him. Even kind of under the gun. We are going to be seeing the robotics bay coming on down, so could be disruptors, could be Colossus. He opens up both those tech choices, and probably going to be disruptors at least for the first bit. But if he sees what Lambo is going for, which is we've got now Hydra range on the way, he might elect to throw in a couple of Colossus. We already saw that in the previous game, and it's pretty effective for him.
Yeah, Queen's gonna be picked off of position here. MaxPax is also gonna get the scout on the hive of Lambo, which is particularly early. So he's gonna know with that Hydra range and with the hive that there is probably a lurker. Then I'm not sure if he actually directly spotted it, but he might still hear. So yeah, it looks like he's gonna spot the lurker then as well if he didn't have confirmation from the hive. And so now he can start looking to transition himself, probably not into disruptors, which are ideal against lurkers, because with the hive there will also be access to vipers. So yeah, we'll see what MaxPax chooses to do.
Yeah, this is going to become a bit of a... It's a bit of a stable game now. It's normalized, stabilized a little bit. Lambo is one of those players that has been very vocal about not being the biggest fan of lurkers in this matchup because you lose so much agency with them. You kind of lack the ability to dictate the game, especially against a player that maybe has Phoenixes. And if you get aggressive with those lurkers, they get kind of concaved on. Half of them get lifted out of the ground. That can be a disastrous engagement. So you really don't want to be aggressive with them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? He is transitioning to lurker tech with this many Phoenix on the ground. And if I were MaxPax, I would maybe be considering somewhat of a further air transition, because all of the army of Lambo is basically going to be ground-based, except for those few queens at the moment, right? Like, he's not going to be able to invest too much more into Hydras either if he wants to spend his gas in those Vipers and whatnot. So I think that air would be a strong option. Instead, MaxPax doubles down on the Robo, which is interesting because, again, you scouted the hive, you know that there's going to be Vipers on the way.
Yeah, and he still hasn't added on a Templar... Oh, as I say that, he adds on a Templar Archives. Hasn't yet, though. It's not on the field just now. We're going to see... Oh, nice little Ling run by. Gets a couple of probes right there. That's nice little annoyance damage. But...
Oh, going after the Vipers.
He's going to dive the Vipers.
Yeah, and that's excellent. I mean, that's huge for MaxPax. A lot of Phoenix will pay with their lives, and those Vipers ideally would have gotten transfused if there was even just one single queen or two in the vicinity. So it was a risky move from MaxPax, but as soon as he spots those Vipers, he goes for it. And now the Disruptors are that much more powerful. Without Vipers on the map, these Disruptors are kind of the counter to everything else that Lambo has on the ground. Lambo knows that, and he's remaking one Viper, but he doesn't have a lot of gas. He can't even make a Viper. Well, now he can make another Viper if he chooses to do so, but then he would only have minerals left.
Yeah, his gas bank is pretty damn small, and even fires up +2 Carapace right here, looking for some really, really good upgrades on these units. But as you said, his gas bank it's pretty abysmal. He needs to really, really start mining from that 5th base gas setup as quickly as possible. Little Roach run by setups on the bottom side. Going to see what he can get done there. But of course, Warpins. Oh, actually, it looks like the Phoenixes might even find it. No, maybe not. Meanwhile, the Zealots in the middle of the map, they are going to get shoved away. It's so funny to watch slow Zealots before they get charged. They are just the worst units in the game.
Yeah, I love that MaxPax also picks up 2 Roaches right away, because 3 is the number that you need to pick up to kill probes. So it's going to be a quick pickup onto 2 of them, even though the Phoenix don't really have the damage to necessarily kill them without the help of those cannons. These queens are going to get caught on the side as well, and there is, I mean, a lot of transfuse, a lot of energy that will not be able to be spent on those. Lambo abducting or choosing to abduct one of the Archons instead of saving the abduct for the Disruptors, but the Disruptors already fired, so MaxPax is not really... I was gonna say not really gonna be able to commit further, but he thinks otherwise, and he's actually gonna push into this concave and lurker setup of Lambo. I'm not sure that this was the best call from MaxPax, having already utilized both of the Disruptor shots. Now they are off cooldown again, but I think that was a great engagement from Lambo, and I think that MaxPax had no business taking.
Yeah, that was a really, really questionable push, and I don't know what caused him to think that that was a vulnerable location. He knew he was on creep, he knew he was pushing into a concave, and he knew there was spores, and he just tried to lift the lurkers and shove on through, but that was not the play for him. And Lambo now takes a significant supply lead, even ahead in terms of resources lost. MaxPax behind this, going to transition into Storm and Air, but I feel like this transition is now so late and kind of ill-advised at this point.
Yeah, and I would have loved this air transition earlier when he scouted the lurker then and whatnot, but now it is going to be a little bit more difficult. Lambo, however, trying to make something happen on the other side of the map as he is maxed. Double armies out on the map for the German King, and this game has very much stabilized for him in most ways. So great job from him, even bringing it back to where we can call this a fairly, even if not favorable game for him at this point. And he is going to be poking at two places at once. This lurker doesn't have much support here, so it's going to have to back away. And Lambo is not going to find success on either front, so he'll also have to just tuck tail and run.
Yeah, it's so aggressive to be, or it's so difficult to be aggressive with this army. And now we see the Phoenix is going to be adding on a fair bit of support right here. MaxPax going to be able to clean this army up lickety-split. And just like that, that lead that Lambo had, it's kind of gone. It's kind of been evaporated. It will be 3-3 for the ground, which is going to mean that this carrier transition is nowhere near as effective as it should be. What makes carriers so powerful is when they go up against units that they have a big upgrade advantage against, especially attack versus armor. But if you're on +1 carriers versus +3 armor Hydralisks, the Hydralisks will actually, they just won't die. They just don't die. Of course, Disruptors, Storm, those are a big problem for the Hydralisks, but this could still be a weird situation where the carrier transition does not have the punch that you're used to seeing it have.
For sure, spellcasters are gonna play a big role here, right? Like the abducts, the feedbacks onto those Vipers before getting the abducts, those are gonna dictate a lot of the engagements. If the armies just clash head on, then yeah, you don't need that many Hydras to take on the army that MaxPax is going for. It's these guys here on screen that are gonna be the problem. That's a lot of them.
Oh, already a nice storm on those Hydras on the top side, but nice force field. Really, really saving MaxPax's bacon right there. Those lurkers really looking to get in on top of the army on the right side, but we are going to see MaxPax kind of forced back from this base. Battery overcharge will get popped, but it is pretty exposed. Disruptors, oh!
Yeah, they're going to be pretty good. Already 4 lurkers have fallen, I believe. Now Lambo is having to retreat, which means these 2 lurkers on the side are also going to have to be forfeit. Lambo is somehow still maxed out, remaxing on 12 Hydras, but this is not the type of army composition that you want against the still scaling MaxPax, who has 3 more carriers on the way. So this is not even his final form.
No, and Lambo, as soon as he sees those carriers, fires up 20 more drones. Double Spires on the way now. He's going to be transitioning into the double upgrades. And I think those drones were for Spore Crawlers, but there are not a lot of Spore Crawlers on the map, just the ones from the early game. Cool. MaxPax may have a bit of a timing here.
He thinks he does. He's going to be pushing on to creep. Again, utilized a lot of the disruptors. This time he's going to be wise to try to back away. But Lambo is going to try to cut him off as, again, most of the disruptors, if not all at this point, have been utilized. So Lambo with a decent engage on the back of that. The last disruptor shot's actually only going to connect onto 3 Hydras. It could have been much worse. Good back away from Lambo as a few Zealots are still wreaking havoc at his natural base expansion. So 8 drones have fallen, and you cannot really have those Spires exposed. So Lambo's going to have to pull back and will end up saving the hatchery even.
Yeah, but that was a really nice run by from MaxPax. He's been constantly throwing those run bys at his opponent, and he's found some pretty good success with them overall. Nice job from Lambo right here with the Spine Crawlers repositioning, but while they do reposition, they don't do so the most quickly. Might lose a couple of units, a couple of drones, but it looks like at most 1 going down. Oh, wow. Disruptor actually managing to connect on one of those lurkers. I didn't think that would have the range.
Yeah, just ever so barely. So good eye from MaxPax there. Also very cool position from Lambo right on top of that ramp. It makes it very difficult for MaxPax to go up, especially with the corners that he would have to turn. So it is Lambo doing a good job of stalling for the time being for those Corruptor transition. There's 1-1 on the air, like you were mentioning earlier, coming up, and now MaxPax up until that point should have the upper hand with this extremely scary army. So much AoE in the ground.
Yeah, this is a really, really tough situation for Lambo to deal with. He doesn't want to give up that base, but he has to, and he's already made the mature decision of pulling those drones away, making sure he saves them. Disruptor shot's going to come on out, see if they can find any units that are maybe straggling behind. But Lambo, very quick on the unburrow, gets away. And he is starting to transition into those corruptors. Already got 10 on the field, but not a lot of Vipers. No pathogen glands for infestors to, hit that wombo combo. I don't know. I'm starting to really like MaxPax's position in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Vipers are really a key missing element, but at the same time, there's so many Templars with feedback available that it's difficult to blame Lambo for not making more of those. His gas bank is there to where he can make any units he wants to replace small losses, but he cannot really replenish a full army if he loses it. So he's gonna go for a counter attack. I kind of like this use of the Hydras. It's gonna allow for more space for Corruptors and so on, so that he can get rid of the air units first. And if he gets rid of the carriers, maybe he can remax onto ground and then clear the rest, because there's not that much in the shape of air. These lurkers though might be just attack move, no, not move commanding. They are gonna burrow towards the end, but not gonna be able to find anything really. And things are getting pretty dire here for the German.
Yeah, he was trying to force a recall out of there, and MaxPax did not take the bait. Archon's a little bit out of position. Storm missing initially, but the second follow-up one will do the job on those Corruptors. These carriers, there is not a whole lot that deals with them. There's only 8 Corruptors right here. Can Lambo hold? I don't really see a way at this point.
Yeah, it looks very difficult. A few of the High Templars do get caught by a group of roaches here, which is really nice. But yeah, Lambo has depleted most of his bank here. He has a little bit still left, but not enough, it feels like. With the Hydras now collapsing, he might be able to finish this, but just a little group of Zealots there on the flank are going to clear a lot of those Hydras. And with that, MaxPax is going to take